All right, guys, we're about to do this thing. All right, guys, we're live. This is Charlie with Outskirts Overland. I'm streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you guys get this later, I do stream these live on those three platforms, and it'll be available later in the week via Apple Podcasts. So, welcome to the show. This is my first iteration of this show here, and I'm probably just going to cover mostly, you know, just myself and what I'm doing here. I've got the chat going. It looks like quite a few people. Looks like quite a few people are in, so that's awesome. I appreciate you guys. I got a couple funny little things that'll be on the ticker as time goes on. Um, and just some stuff about my friends, just funny jokes, and that'll be a theme throughout the entirety of this podcast. Like I may even put a ticker up. I might be interviewing somebody and put something up on the ticker about them. When that comes to be. So, of course, first things first. Um, I'm Charlie. I'm a United States Marine veteran. I am a car guy at heart. I have been overlanding for probably on and off since 2006. So what's that? Um, 18 years. I started off in a Dodge Dakota truck. I lived out near Joshua Tree, California, and started off doing it that way. A little bit of the overlanding, a little bit of the backpacking, doing some bouldering. Naturally, can't do that in a truck. Some people may disagree, but you can't. So definitely, definitely been doing it a while. So, so I guess first things first. I drive a Tacoma. I have an SR5 Tacoma. I have no lockers. It's pretty built out. I've had a couple different vehicles as time has went on. This is my second Tacoma. I had a previous generation. I have a third generation now. I had a previous generation Tacoma, TRD Pro. I decided to go to a full size truck. Had a Nissan Titan. Liked that, but I do like going on trails in Arkansas and other places. The Titan was too big, so I went back to a Tacoma. After having the Pro, I decided it probably wasn't worth it, even though third generation had some more stuff. Went with the SR5, and I built that up from there. At some point throughout this podcast, this stream, I'll do something with the truck where I'll go over my truck and what's in my truck and how I did that. So that covers me pretty concisely. I don't want to get too in the weeds about myself. Secondly, what I'm trying to do here is just build a community. I don't see anybody streaming, so I'm streaming. There's definitely podcasts. I definitely want to bring guests on, and I want to create good content for everyone to listen to and watch. Um, so I'm just trying to get this going. I'm saying I'm a lot. I'm trying to get this going, streaming a bunch, so that we can create that space for this hobby of overlanding. So, as I talk about overlanding, I would like to touch on that because that's very popular amongst other streams and podcasts. Is I hear it all the time. What's this car camping overland thing? And that's I really want to nail that topic down right now. I a lot of times do disagree. I would call anything you're doing in a vehicle in the woods, out of your car overlanding. I'm way more open minded to that term than most. It's a keyword search that you're going to find everything about the hobby that I love. So that's where I'm going to sit with it. I probably won't even address it again. This is Outskirts Overland. We all can you can disseminate your own opinion of what that means on Google. I will continue to call it overlanding, and I'll just leave it at that. So I appreciate everybody's comments and whether they agree, disagree, whatever. So, first thing I wanted to probably talk about tonight is happy Valentine's Day to all of the significant others out there. It is definitely the day before Valentine's Day. So, all 15 people watching this right now, like, I appreciate you guys a lot. But also make sure you're appreciating your spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, whoever. So, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Um, Secondly, as I get started on this, the first thing I wanted to talk about is just a few tips and tricks that I have that I've passed on to my friends and I've passed on to other people. Um, so first thing I want to hop into is I provided a little bit of guidance over on the Budget Overland podcast. I've been on there twice. You could search me on there, Charlie Rasanowski. One of them's just a dude, and the other one is the episode's just a dude, and the other one is cold camping with Charlie. So you can find me over there. I touched on some stuff over there. Winter's almost over, so I'm not going to touch too much on that. What I wanted to talk about is gear. Um, and we all know that overlanding gear is extremely expensive. So I have a couple tips and tricks as a consumer that doesn't get free stuff to help you guys out. So one of the first and best things that I learned to do was go find whatever I wanted online and put it in a cart and just leave it there. Subscribe to whatever newsletter, create an account on the site, and just fill your cart with whatever you want. What I found happened with that is I'd keep getting repetitive emails over time. Hey Charlie, you left something behind. Here's 10%. Here's 20%. They'll come after you. So a lot of times, if you're watching, these other YouTubers and they're going, oh, 10% off if you use my code, whatever. You can kind of generate that for yourself based on just leaving something in the cart because they don't like to see that. So and for all of you out there, if you're looking to buy something big in the near future, they'll usually send you emails if the products you have in there are on sale too. So, like for instance, I got a Iron Man leaf pack for my Tacoma, a constant load leaf pack. I put it in my cart. I don't even know, November of 21, sometime in October. I 20. Oh man, I bought it in 23. So I bought it in 23. There was some type of 4th of July sale that came upon, and they sent me an email like, big sale, you could save 35%. I was like, sweet. But I've had this happen time and time again. Like, I've gotten rooftop tents for $800 that were $2,000. I've got rooftop tents that were $4,000 for $2,000 as I've upgraded stuff, and I'll get into that. I will talk about that here as well. But either way, that's a tip that I've used many times. It's helped me um, get deals because honestly, the culture that I'm trying to cultivate here is we're all spending a lot of money or time or resources, mental resources, and we're not all. I'm doing this now, but I'm not an influencer, and I guess as of today, maybe I am, but I won't take that stance per se. So I'm going to continue to kind of be like, if I was buying this, if I was buying this, what do I think of it? I have a lot of stuff that I bought twice. I thought I was buying the right thing, and I bought it twice because I I trusted somebody that was selling something, quite frankly, and I didn't know enough myself. So that's why I have the chat here. That's why I have a lot of things going on. So that's what's going on with that. So that leads me into my first thing down. If you go down on the ticker there, you're going to see something that I wrote up. It's about my friend Chris here, and it's going to say, hey Chris, that's correct, they lied to you on YouTube. The Jackery doesn't run your diesel heater. This is a perfect example of oh, the Jackery's great, and I don't want to slam Jackery by any means, but it's a pretty well known fact that they don't run diesel heaters. The Jackery requires a 15 amp 12 volt source, and it has a 10 amp. That's across all Jackeries. That's just the way it is. So as people watch this, if you're in a warmer climate, this is irrelevant to you, but and get a Jackery, like by all means. They sponsor a ton of freaking people, but make sure you're doing your research because my friend Chris went through quite a myriad of diesel heaters to try and find one that worked, and we ended up finally getting him figured out on running it on AC, finding a diesel heater that ran AC 110 power too. So that's just probably my first thing here is like also be educate yourself, find out what works and what doesn't work because you may have a lot of assumptions that don't necessarily line up with what's going on. So, and as far as gear goes, do you need a diesel? Do you need a diesel heater? I've got Zigzag here, Blue Eddy for the win. Yeah, I have a Blue Eddy, and that's what runs my diesel heater. So, and for those of you listening later, again, this is live, and I interact. I'm interacting with folks on this chat as well. So yeah, so Blue Eddy. I have an EB55. I run my diesel heater with that. That's not what I run for my fridge and other accessories in my truck. But I do run it solely for my diesel heater. The negative of Blue Eddy, though, is it's a Life PO4 battery, and it does not operate well in the cold. As many people will understand, a lot of things don't operate well in the cold. Your propane can freeze. I had a tent shell just cracked. So in negative temps, or maybe it wasn't negative temps, very low temps, 10 degrees or 0 to 10 degrees, and my tent top cracked. The winter is I've found that the winter is much harder on your gear in this hobby of overlanding than the summer or the rain or any other single season. It is the most difficult on your gear. It's the prettiest, it's the quietest, it's the most fun in my opinion, but it is the 100% hardest on your stuff. So Blue Eddies are great. You know, I see Boondock Haverlock here. He says he runs it off a deep cycle battery. That's my literal advice I gave on the Budget Overland podcast. If you're looking for a cheap way to just run your diesel heater, 150% get any lead acid or AGM battery. They do not have any loss of performance in cold weather. They just don't. Yeah, you can go get a anti-gravity or something else, and they have like heaters and protection and different things, but you could buy 10 AGMs for the price of one of those. So not a great idea in my opinion. Again, I'm not a big budget guy, but definitely a deep cycle battery. Put the clamps on it, move on. Like which really leads me into I'm talking gear, but it leads me into another point. Don't think you got to look cool to be cool. Like seriously, like I think the only and again, I have power stations. I have two of them. I have two power stations. Like you don't have to have a power station, guys. Like, and you don't even need a dual battery setup. You could do solar straight to a deep cycle battery very inexpensively, like, and Walmart will warranty your battery for 5 years. Like, so I mean, do you look as cool as the guy with the Jackery and the fold out solar panels? No, you don't. I mean, you don't. It is cool. I have fold out solar panels. I have a big power station. But that's neither here nor there. It's not necessary to get into this hobby. So, and again, my power supplies have failed me in the cold 100% of the time. Like every single time I go winter camping, my power station discharges and it won't take a charge. It kills it. It won't put out. It won't do output. I have to literally start my truck, put all the vents in the truck onto that power station, heat that power station up to get it to take a charge. And I mean, is that really what you want to be doing when you're overlanding? No, that isn't. So just think about it. There is definitely a lot in this space about looking cool these days. Like I said, I've been doing this, on and off, definitely full on since 2019. And I built 3 trucks full on, but I definitely, um, I definitely have seen a shift, and you can call it, based on that thing that happened. Um, but I don't know that that's is that why it blew up? Yeah. Is that why it became so commercialized? Potentially. But like anything else, when you look at your newer vehicles, they're getting way less analog. So naturally, the gear in this hobby is going to get less analog as it's vehicle based. You know, back in 2019, even people in this hobby were driving, 10-year-old cars. That's a 2009. They didn't have CarPlay, they didn't have Bluetooth, you didn't have maps on your screen. So, like, it was just a more analog time. Um, and definitely back when I started doing this in 2006, I mean, it was all Rubbermaid tubs. Like there was no deck system. You had Rubbermaid tubs, like that was what you had. And if you had Rubbermaid tubs that leaked, you had Rubbermaid tubs that you put trash bags over so they didn't leak. Welcome to the show. That's what it was. I never even saw a rooftop tent till 2017. So, and I was in California where this was a popular hobby. I moved from Joshua Tree, lived there for 4 years, moved up to Lake Tahoe, lived there for 2 years. Big snow wheeling community, rooftop tents. No, never saw one. Never saw one. So, I mean, 2012, I left Lake Tahoe. So I never saw one until 2017 on maybe Instagram, possibly. Uh, I don't really remember. So definitely, definitely something to think about. Like if you're trying to get into this hobby, just make sure you're getting into it for the right reasons, because you can definitely get wrapped up in the stuff. Like, they call it it's overlanding, but I always say a lot of people don't go overlanding because they're spending their time overthinking. So don't get paralysis by analysis, guys. Like it's not that big of a deal. Um, so anyways, Tyson has a couple things here in my chat. I'm gonna address the last one first. Um, he said you need to do it to find out what you need. Yeah, and I agree 100%. The piece of advice I just provided the other day was, hey, like go to these events. I was just talking to my group of friends who's the majority of my chat right now today, and they were like, "Are you going to more?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." Why am I not going to more? Because I see more as a place where you go to look for things to buy. It's like Christmas shopping for overlanding. And I don't need anything right now. But if you're looking for inspiration, if you're looking for ideas, I found way more luck at more in the campground with the other folks going, "Oh, do you like this? Do you not like this?" The brands are going to tell you everything. Everything you're going to hear there is going to be my stuff's the best stuff. And here's why. And blah, blah, blah. And they're going to be in their polo shirts or, go out in the parking lot, do the S'more to More rally, and you're going to get way more stuff. Way more stuff. Yeah, and Jason Jones, I like more because you can find new types of gear. Yeah, and that's exactly a case in point. Like if you need that type of gear, it's a great place to go. I have found that I spent a ton of money on stuff that I was marketed because I'm a human idiot too. Like that's just the way it is. Stuff that I was marketed and I got it and was like, oh man, like this kind of stinks. So and that's my own bad. That's my own bad. So whatever with that. Just go to these events, look at other people's rigs, find out what works for them. You'll see some similarities, whether they're, like drawer systems. You can get Goose Gear drawer system. God only knows what that costs. But you can also look like my friend Johnny built his own drawer system. Chris built his own drawer system. That's just like, is it worth the thousands of dollars? But you will see a lot of drawer systems. So do you maybe want a drawer system? Yeah, maybe. But do you need to get the one that's most expensive at more? Probably not, because then you won't be able to afford gas to go to any really cool places. So gas is really like your most awesome expense. So definitely. And so I'm going to go back to Tyson here. He said, let's talk about fuel for cooking. So, and this is one that I had the pleasure of showing Tyson out in the Ozark National Forest. We went camping last February. Tyson rolls only a butane stove. It got down to the 20s at night. Butane flat doesn't work. So there's another thing. Like he had this thing. It worked great all summer. It works great in temperate climates. We went out to the Ozark National Forest, camped on Buffalo River, and it got down in the 20s at night. And Tyson's stove didn't work, so he had to use our propane stuff. But I've even been in environments where propane won't work or doesn't work efficiently. That's why you can get like propane sleeves and stuff. So, I mean, but if you're going out and it's that cold, you should have a little bit of redundancy. Redundancy meaning, a couple of different things of the same, like have some redundancy, like more than one fuel, have some fire starters, have some, have some different stuff so that you can make sure that you can cook. I'm a big fan of freeze dried meals and I have a jet boil. As far as my redundancy is concerned, that's where I land. If all else fails, I can always have a couple of the little jet boil things in the back seat of the truck, so they're a little more insulated. Throw a couple blanks on them when it's cold, and I'll always have my jet boil. So I always carry some of those things just in the case that my propane freezes, or maybe I run out. Um, so yeah, make sure you're paying attention to what you're getting, so you're not, again, like Tyson had a butane stove. He bought this thing, and now it didn't work in the winter. Well, that's half the year. That's half the year. So what are you doing? Like, now half the year you can't cook. Like, waste of money, in my opinion. Um, Zigzag Zero said, cooking with fire is elite. I think cooking with fire is great. I do. And here's where I'll disagree with you, though. Getting everything to make a fire, to cook on the fire, in a lot of ways takes away from the experience for me. I'm not a big fire guy. I'm not a Dutch oven guy. Yeah, so like I just am not into the fire cooking. Do I like having a fire when it's easy to get wood? I have an electric chainsaw. I mean, I got all the stuff, but it is not my favorite to build a fire. It's just not. What's most important when you get up for me? It's not get the fire going, it's make coffee. Or in my case, Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. That's the beverage of choice. For those of you listening, that's a white monster. My friend Johnny sends me memes and gifs of people just like when you drank the last white monster, but I'm still kicking, so here we are. And so I drink energy drinks, but my girlfriend who goes with me often, which we'll touch on her a lot as this goes on, um, she likes coffee. Coffee's first priority. Yep, agree 100%. Like it's the first thing you got to do. Like, well, probably pee, but then coffee. So so that's where I'm at too. Like I'm just not a fire guy. I'm not. Um, I camped in Colorado for 5 or 6 days, and I only lit my propane fire pit one night. I'm just not a fire guy. I don't know why. Like I'm just not. Um, yeah. So that's what it is. So so that's that. I wanted to also, what do you guys want to talk about? I mean, I got a lot of stuff I could talk about. I can go on and on, but I mean, really, the reason I wanted to do stream is so you guys can ask questions. So what you guys got? I'll sit and wait and let you guys get something drummed up. Yeah, and Jason, you mostly like freeze dried meals. I have a huge, I have a, I say huge. I have a 75-liter dual zone Dometic, and that's because we cook. Oh, there you go, Jason. I'm already on it. So I have a 75-liter Dometic fridge, dual zone. And we take that because I can go grocery shop so a lot of cool places are in places that stuff's really expensive. Gas is expensive, groceries are expensive. So I have a 75-liter fridge because I don't ever more time. I went to Colorado for whatever, 5 or 6 days a week, whatever. We never had to get anything. I had the groceries from my house, my local grocery store, in the fridge the whole time. So yeah, is a fridge expensive? Fridge is probably the one of like hand of God, probably the best thing you can buy. I use it many times a week, just grocery shopping, kids, sporting events, juice boxes, whatever, man. Like it was just today, Valentine's Day, chocolate covered strawberries. You can get them early, put them in the fridge. They're not going to melt in your truck. You don't have to forget them in the work fridge. Like fridge in the truck. Love the fridge in the truck. But yeah, I've got a 75-liter Dometic dual zone. Um, I saved up back on my first point, hot take, saved up like a ton of REI points and bought that bad boy from REI for like $800. I had like $500 off. It was like 20% off. Plus I had like a ton of points and a gift card. And yeah, I mean, it's still a ton of money, but I'm not paying $1,300 for any fridge at all. That's not going to happen. But again, I always find the sales. I do a lot of DIY stuff too. So that's what I've got for that. Tyson says, tell us about the rig. I guess I'll probably, since I talked a lot about power, I went with so I got a dual zone fridge. It's big. Naturally I need a lot of power. So I have an Anchor 757. I think it's called a Solex 1200 now. It's a 1200 watt hour battery bank station thing. I came home from a trip. I don't remember where it was, but it was Memorial Day last year, and it was not. The weather was nice, and my Blue Eddie freaking my Blue Eddie freaking died. I just came home and was like, I'm whatever the biggest thing I can get is. So that I have an Anchor 757 that powers that. I have it wired in to charge passively with solar and the truck when the truck's running, as well as I can plug it into I got the plug-in cord, so I can plug it into, a RV spot if I want to with an extension cord. So, Jason, I have a 2001 Tacoma single cab. I don't know if the 75 will fit. Mine is in the back of the truck on a Alu cab tilt fridge slide. And I have a camper shell on my truck, which leads me to Tyson's question. I have a camper shell on my truck, rooftop tent. I have racks on it, cases on the roof, snorkel, um, a lot of things. I do appreciate Tyson wanting me to talk about it because my truck is kind of cool, but I'd rather you guys didn't think you had to do all that. I did all that because that's what I like. My hobby isn't just overlanding. Modifying the car is kind of my hobby, and that's been my hobby probably since I was 14 years old. I enjoy modifying the car. I do all my own work on my car, the fab work, all the work, all of it. I do the lift, the whatever. I do it all. I have a deck system in it, but it fits in the back. I have my fridge in the back. I have 3 kids, all in car seats in my Tacoma. So the back seat is not something that I can delete to house my fridge. Would I love that? Yes, I would love that. Maybe, maybe I'd love that. Maybe I wouldn't love that. I don't know. Fridge is big, but get the fridge that you can afford. I mean, or get a cooler. Get a nice cooler. Like this is one thing I did want to talk about, but like, yeah, go to Academy. Just get a cooler. Like, get a big cooler. Get a nice cooler, and it'll make you. It'll last you a weekend. I mean, a cooler will last a weekend. Um, I do go on longer trips and I do go alone a lot, so I can't be rotating stuff. So my truck is an auto. My truck's an automatic. It's a 2020. It's an auto. Um, so yeah, just I mean, it's not anything crazy. So Benji asks, how often do you try to camp a year? Not necessarily a long trip. Weekends count too. I try to camp literally as much as I can. It just depends. Like the Polar Bear Camping Club second iteration was this last weekend. I would have loved to go. But it was busy. I had kid stuff, like I couldn't go. But I try to go as much as possible. I vow pretty regularly every year I want to go. I want to go once a month, so 12 times. I have a pretty solid. I have a pretty what do I want to call it? Hard stance on camping one night. I do not like to camp one night. I say that all the time. You'll hear me say that all the time. I am not a one night fan. I have passed on camping trips with my friends because they're going for one night. They don't even ask. They know. I'm going 2 nights or 0 nights because where I live, I'm 5 hours from anywhere. So I have to drive a long, 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 long ways, which brings me to tell you guys this hobby can take some dedication. I drive a lot. My 2020 Tacoma has 68,000 miles on it, and I bought my Tacoma a year ago, a year ago in September with 26,000 miles. So I think like just keep that in mind, like where you live and what's near you. If I lived closer to Mark Twain National Forest here in Missouri, or if I lived closer to the Ozark National Forest or the Great Sand Dunes in New Mexico, or Ouray, Colorado, I would go. I mean, I'd go during the week, man. I'm about it. Like I would go during the week. Um, if I had public land like that, seriously, I would go. I would literally go. I would literally go during the week. Like I'm actually an overlander that would love to be a van lifer. Like I'd love to live in a rig hard, like so hard. I'd love to live in a truck. If that was feasible, I would have my truck would be built like that, or I have a Sprinter van, period, or like a Toyota Sun Raider, like the older '80s ones, something like that, lifted with a 3.4 or a 2 UZ V8 or something. So Yeah, I'd have something else. I'd have something else completely. Even with my kids, I all the time I'm like, man, I want to just do this thing, and that's kind of why this all started. Like this is a passion project for me. I've been talking about doing for 5 years probably. Um, and I want to live in my rig. Heck, we just had the conversation with my girlfriend the other day. She's like, "You never gonna like anything in a house," and I was like, "Why do you think that?" She's like, "Cause you don't want to be in a house," and I was like, "Nailed it." So I don't, and I don't. I'd prefer to be camping pretty much always. Um, For sure. So to answer your question, Benji, I want to go once a month at least for 2 days. So I want to go once a month for 2 days. So whatever, 24 minimum of 24 nights a year for sure. Hey, thanks for the you noticed my picture? Pretty sick. Yeah, got it. That's pretty yeah, that's a thing. Anyways, so thanks for noticing. Anyways, got a picture of sitting in a rooftop tent, making coffee in the jet boil behind me. Also, my lighting for this podcast is literally, I'm gonna plug it, Devos Light Rangers right now. My lighting is Devos lights, 100%. If you don't have those, that's something you need to be getting for sure. That's like the best multi-use thing I have. Um, so for sure. But I can tell Jason, why don't you keep going? You've got a lot of questions. Like you've got a specific set of questions here, and I want to hit those. Devos Light Ranger. It's a light. I mean, it's a light on a pole. Here, this is the beauty of this. It is a light on a pole. Welcome to Light on a Pole, Devos Light Ranger. It is the best, dude. Like, it is so good. Here's a funny story. I showed up with a Devos to what was I at? Was it Big Iron last year rally? And was the only one with one. And this last time we went to the polar bear camping trip, when I went with all my buddies, there was 5 Devo Slide Rangers. So I use it all the time. It's the best, man. I love these things. Yeah, and you'll see literally look at the chat right now. Like they are all like, get this thing. So that's so sick. But anyways, Jason, you've got some questions. So I see you've got like a lot going on here. Like you're really interested. Like you have a Yeti right now. What are you having troubles with the Yeti with? Are you going on longer trips? What are you doing? And I'll wait here because I just haven't seen the Yeti let anyone down, really, honest to God. Um and and again, a fridge is something I like. I have kids. I use it for a lot of different things. It's in my truck all the time. I just hate refilling ice. Yeah. Well, how much is ice? Like if you're going on longer trips, for sure. And do I think you need a 75-liter fridge just because I have one? Absolutely not. I think, and I don't know if my buddy Chris is on this stream right now. He has a well, Johnny has the same fridge. What size is your fridge, Johnny? Is it 55-liter? 53-liter? It's a Dometic too, but Iceco makes one, Set Power makes one. I mean, all everybody makes one that same size. But I think it's a 55-liter. Yeah, Boondock Haverlock. I haven't needed a fridge yet. The Ozark Trail coolers, great. They're great. Yeah, my buddy had an Ozark Trail cooler, and that's all he runs. He's got a Jeep, so he has no space. But refilling the ice is annoying. Yeah, but again, don't worry about being the coolest. Like, just do the thing. You can get them cheaper other places. Check Facebook Marketplace though, man. They pop up. Yeah. You don't see very many 2001? You don't see any 2001 or earlier builds on Tacomas? Are you in? Well, I'm older here at this, so I've been in the forums for a long time. So you Tacoma World has like a ton of older Tacomas. There's a guy, I think it's Overland Under Budget. He's on YouTube. He's got an earlier Tacoma. I don't know if it's a 2001, might be like a 3, but he's got an earlier built Tacoma, like a okay, so yeah, there's a bunch of earlier built Tacomas, and in a lot of ways, they're quite a better platform. This newer third gen Tacoma has it's I don't want to say problems because it's extremely reliable, but it's quirky. It gear hunts. I mean, I had to get it tuned and tuned again. It gear hunts pretty. It gear hunts pretty substantially. The power band. So where it's got the most power is like up real high, which is not conducive to off-roading or slow travel or off-road travel. So that's just yeah, they're great. I mean, whether or not there's a lot of them, you're doing the right thing. I had a loan on my Titan, so I had to trade into another newer car. And but I would love to have had. I mean, in all reality, my perfect vehicle would be like a '08 Land Cruiser. Um, but I'd be what I can afford in a Land Cruiser would have so many freaking miles. I don't know that I'd trust to get my kids to school. So that's where that is. So my buddy Emmett just said, "Hey, I'm interested in your thought process behind organization of gear for a weekend trip." So for sure, one thing that my organization for a weekend trip, I have that stuff packed. So I have a deck system in my truck now, and it is packed. My truck is ready to go, probably 80 to 90% of the way. Um, 80 to 90% of the way, all the time. Like literally all the time, my truck is ready to roll. So that being said, that hasn't always been the case. So and again, I'm gonna work on getting a better camera, but I'll explain it to you now. Like what I do is I have tubs and they're labeled, and I have specific gear in tubs. And depending on your form factor, which I will talk about that a lot over time, form factors. Depending on your form factor is what tubs will work because I pick tubs that I can put in the vehicle that I'm doing it in. So depending on what you're doing it in. So if it means you got to put all your gear in duffel bags or whatever. I use I use tubs, like plastic tubs, but I drive a truck. But Emmett, you drive the same exact truck as me. Like your truck's exactly like mine. So tubs work. Um and I put it all in there. I label it with a piece of masking tape and a marker. So if I ever change what's in there, move on with my life. I've also done a lot of different like like when you go to Walmart and you get under bed storage, like for under your household bed, like they got little wheels and they're skinny. I have actually used those probably the most of any like tubs is the is those like under bed storage ones because they're also clear and so you can see what's in them so you don't have to label them if you want something better. Keep it all in the garage though. So for a weekend trip, I'm all about, have it packed beforehand. One thing that's also super nice is here in Missouri, the grocery store we have that's most handy for grocery pickup is Hy-Vee. One thing you can do on the Hy-Vee app is save grocery lists. So that's something I also do is save a grocery list for camping so I can just buy again, grab my stuff. That's just one less thing I think about. That might not be for everybody, but that might help somebody. Um, for sure. So hopefully that answers your question. That's kind of a tough question, like the organization of gear. Put it in tubs, keep it like keep clothes here, tent, sleeping bags, pillows in another thing. Chairs are in a different place, but keep my chairs are together too. Like tie them beasts together. So sorry, I almost went unkid friendly there for a second. Tie them together. Um, with like a bungee or something, just because it's nicer. It's not rattling all over the place. But just keep your stuff segmented, like what's what. I also have probably the same clothes I wear camping almost always too. I'm not a dirty person, but they're just my camping clothes. So that way, again, I try to be ready to go. I have missed out on trips not being ready to go. So I want to be ready to go to be able to go at a moment's notice. Like go fill up with gas, go pick up the groceries, out of town. Um, I don't want to have a lot of barriers to keep me from going. I want to make sure that I'm ready to roll. So that's how I handle a weekend trip. So Jason said, I live in Colorado. My closest grocery store sucks. Okay, so we've talked about this before. with my group of friends. So you guys are my group of friends for now. So um, what I have done in the past with, with the grocery store sucks. So when I lived in Lake Tahoe, you had to, they said you got to drive down the mountain to get to anything. And usually, so where I lived, so if the mountain is this tall, I live probably here and town was here. So that being said, you'd have to drive down the mountain to get your groceries, to drive back to where you came from, to drive up higher to get to go camping, to go overlanding. So what I've done in that case is I get them like early in the week, like way early, way early in the week. And another tip for that is to freeze some of your stuff that you plan to use later in the trip instead of having so much ice. So, like, say you plan out your meals, maybe you're a foodie. I'm not a foodie with this overlanding thing. I'm way more of a, I'm just a car guy. I am a relaxing guy. I off road some to get to cool camp spots. So my truck is built as such. I don't have 35s or 37s, anything like that. But anyways, so if you plan your meals, so when you plan your meals, one thing to pay attention to is whatever you're going to eat later on in the trip, you could freeze it and put it in your Yeti, and it'll kind of act as some ice for you too. So that's what I do with that, or did do with that. And I didn't have anything nearly as nice as a Yeti then. I had a Coleman, some type of fridge, some type of cooler from Walmart. So that's where I sat with that. Let me see what you guys got going here. Awesome. So that's what I got. You guys got any more questions? I'd be happy to hit on one more topic before I have to hop off here for this week, and we can nail it again next week. As the ticker says here, it says email me Charlie at outskirtsoverland.com. I would love to have some of these questions beforehand so I could make sure that I'm getting you guys the right answers and stuff. I know my friend Benji, he's on right now. He does the voicemail on Mondays. I've got this email inbox. Send me whatever you want. Send me a voicemail. Send me an MP3 file. Record something. Type me an email. What do you what do you got going there? Email me. I'll be that'll probably be what I do next stream is talk about, hey, what's that? Um, Secondly, I'm also available on all social media as some variant of Outskirts Overland. On YouTube, it's Outskirts Overland, one word. On Instagram, it's Outskirts.overland. On YouTube, it's Outskirts.overland. So that's, and on TikTok, it's Outskirts.overland or just Outskirts Overland. Either way, you'll find it. So I've got here, Jason, I'll answer that one real quick. I do poop in the woods. I have a portable toilet. I have a trowel. I don't have some cool shovel. I have a shovel, but it kind of sucks to carry a shovel. I use a trowel to do like gardening trowel. I poop in the woods. I buy toilet paper at the local Camping World that's fully biodegradable. So this is a okay. I'm probably gonna get roasted for this later, but I do bury my toilet paper, but I do buy fully biodegradable RV toilet paper. I don't put it in my trash, but I also don't put baby wipes or regular toilet paper out there. I do pay attention to what toilet paper I'm buying specifically, and I keep it in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't get any moisture. So, anyways, there's that. Justin Yates, build or no build? Oh, for not digging. I heard you get in trouble for not digging holes. It's hard to keep up with the rules in budget overland. Well, that's not a rule in budget overland, but you need to put it in the ground, or people's dogs will roll in it, or somebody steps in it. Like, so the rule of thumb, actually, there's a real rule of thumb to tread lightly. 100 meters from any body of water, 100 meters from your camp, do your business and dig a hole. There's a specific amount, 6 inches, maybe, don't quote me on that. 6 inches, dig your hole, do your poop, do whatever, cover it up. All right, build a Suburban. I mean, Justin, yeah, build a Suburban, whatever. Is it 4-wheel drive? I wouldn't build a 2-wheel drive Suburban, but yeah, build a Suburban, especially if it's got an LS, super reliable. It's going to last you a long time. It's a big vehicle though, but there's a lot of people that have Suburbans, Tahoes, um, excursions. When I was in Colorado, we ran up on a guy in a huge diesel excursion, just doing the thing. Like it was uh it was big. So yeah, you could do it out west. Suburban's gonna be tough. Um, I would say a Tacoma is about the longest wheelbase that I'd want to wheel in the Ozarks or like the East Coast area. So anything Louisiana, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, any place like that. Yeah, you just got a week and a half ago. Congrats, man. Like, yeah, that's what you should build. Tons of, tons of room in that. There is a guy that, hold on, let me find him. There's a guy that built one here. And this is, you know, I'm not ashamed to. It's like Trove One. He's got a Suburban and he's got a trailer he pulls that's also half of a Suburban. Um, but he'd be a good place to look for inspiration. Man, I'd have to find him. It's like Trove One, I think is his name. Benji might know his name. If he's still in the chat, I don't recall. So, but yeah, build a Suburban. I'm a big Chevy guy, not much of a Ford guy. My dad drives a newer Ranger. I am not a fan of the Bronco in any capacity. All my friends in Missouri drive Jeeps. All my friends in Arkansas drive 4Runners, and I have a Tacoma. So, I am by no means a vehicle specific dude. Like, if I could have, I mean, if I could get anything, I would, I would, I mean, there's so many different things I'd love to have. I got a double cab, 6 foot bed taco, and it's long for sure. Yeah. And I wish that's the one thing I wish I'd have done is got a long bed myself because I like to sleep in the back versus, and that's just another thing. Like you guys don't need a tent at all. Like sleep in the back of your car. That's probably my favorite place to do that. It's my favorite place to camp is in the back of the truck by far. Like I love it. Um, I don't like the idea of building so the question, Justin, I don't like the idea of building a platform. It reduces headspace and it's just not going to be for camping and overlanding. 100%. What I do here is like Michaels or Joann Fabrics, you can buy memory foam like by the yard or the foot or whatever. And I would get whatever thickness of memory foam you want. And then you can cut it to fit, and then when you're done, you slept in the back and just like put your tubs, like roll it up, put your tubs in the back. What I did with my tubs when I was doing this earlier on is when I took the tubs out of the truck, I put them under the truck. So get tubs that'll go under your rig. Put them like literally under the truck while you're sleeping. That way you'll get an early warning if somebody was to come jack with your stuff. Um, so, and yeah, everything is going electronic. I have mixed emotions on it. I have an SR5 for a reason. It has a real key. I don't have a sunroof. I don't have power seats. I don't have a lot of things because I got steel bumpers, and so I just that's kind of where I sit with that. I don't like it much either, so I try to mitigate it every chance I can get. Even though I have tons of these electronic overland things in my. Yeah, you have a semi truck mattress. That's perfect. Like an RV mattress, semi truck mattress. I would recommend those, publicly here, but they are way more expensive than just getting memory foam. So I'm big on the memory foam. It's what I use. So when I go with my oldest daughter, she sleeps on top of the deck system in the back of the truck, and I have memory foam for her that just goes on top of the deck next to the fridge, and she sleeps back there, and it works out great. And it's probably the most insulated place you could be. Um, so I like that a lot. And they're easier to work on. Older trucks, Jason said older trucks are easy to work on. I agree, but also just make sure you're familiarizing yourself with your platform. Like whatever platform you choose to build, make sure you familiarize yourself with that first. Like, make sure like I'm not going to get into carrying spares because we're getting close to the hour, but like make sure you know what your truck, what's up with your truck. Like, make sure you know what's going on with your rig. It's been far less needed to modify a rig, in my opinion, again, than to know how to fix it. Breaking down and breaking stuff happens. So I would almost always say, like, I do carry, a lot of tools, impacts, torque wrenches, full tool roll kit, Like I would, just for safety reasons, like probably the first things I'd recommend to anybody would probably be a good first aid kit and some training, Zolio or InReach for communication in case you get in a bad situation, tools to fix your truck, and then maybe depending on where you're at, probably legitimate rock sliders. It's probably where I'd start with anybody. Now, if you really care about your rig and dents and scratches, well, I mean, you probably shouldn't be in this hobby. Personally, my truck's nice, but it is dented and scratched, and that is just something you have to be willing to deal with. I mean, if you're doing this hobby, trees scratch stuff. I mean, sometimes you slide off rocks into other rocks. It happens. Um, so you kind of got to cope with that before you even get going. I know a lot of guys are like, "Oh, my wife is going to be so mad when I break this thing again." Well, like, yeah, I mean, I think you failed your wife making her expect that you weren't gonna hurt this vehicle. If that's what you're doing, like again, like if that's what you're doing with it, like it's gonna happen. And Boondock Haverlock here, yeah, skids and sliders before a lift. And I agree. I agree 100%. I've actually used my sliders way more than my skid plates. Um, so that's just where I'm at with it. I would always go sliders first and go to the local pick and pull and get whatever get the best, metal factory skid plate you can get. Put it on there. If you bend it to hell, well then you probably need a better skid plate. But it's not very often you're gonna just straight wreck that thing on the trail. Just so I mean, if you did like jack it up, it's not like it's going to send a chunk through your oil pan. It'll bend though and be hard to take off. But I mean, for whatever it costs at the pick and pull, just go get whatever metal skid is available for a Suburban because there definitely is one. They had a Z71 Suburban, guarantee it, and it had skids and probably a rear locker. Who knows? So that's what I do with that. So let me see what else we got going. Nothing. My friend's just being my friends in the chat. So cool, awesome. Well, that'll be our first stream here. Next week it'll be 6:30 again. It'll be on Wednesday next week, so I will rotate between Tuesday and Wednesday. I haven't decided what I'm going to do as far as if I'm going to do a podcast separate from the stream or if I'm going to clip this audio and make it a podcast. If the stream continues to be active, like this was pretty active from my first stream, and I'm psyched on that. But if the stream remains active, I will probably have to just split them up and just do shorter podcasts about whatever I feel is going on in the space, and I'll probably advertise the stream there. So I'll be back next week at 6:30 again. Same platforms. It looks like a lot of you are on YouTube, which makes me really happy. That was actually kind of an ordeal to get YouTube to let me stream. It was a little bit of a deal. So anyway, so I really appreciate that's working and you guys watching on that, and that's awesome. But next week it'll be Wednesday. Wednesday next week. It will be Wednesday at 6:30. If you're following all my things, you can also you can email me. You can email me, charlie@outskirtsoverland.com, and I'll send you all the links to all my things. And I have TikTok. Unfortunately, TikTok won't let me stream there yet. They have some it's kind of a little bit of a process over there. So as was YouTube too. So really. So, anyways, I'm really happy to be in this with you guys. I wanted to create a space that was more than just, a static Facebook group. I want to have a group of people on here so we can all chat. Like, I've got friends in here. I'll have people on, but I love that essentially I got, if 13 people are watching right now, I got 13 guests, and that's awesome for me. And I really, 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 really enjoy that. And that's what I want to do here is, I got a question right now. Like, oh, there's a squirrel. What do you do with this? Like, I really like that. So, um, even though if you're in it with me right now, it's easier to follow because you can see the chat and you know what's going on. But later on, I'll see how the audio comes out, and it might be on Apple Podcast. So, anyways, hi Marissa. Hi, how are you doing? I'm gonna hop off here, and I'll see you guys next week. I hope. And tell your friends, bring them on. If they got questions, this is a place for that. Like if your friends have any questions, want to get into the hobby, again, I have literally done this for 18 years. and I have way more. As an electrician at one point, I have a lot of experience. I am um, I'm a pretty versed hobbyist for sure, like very versed hobbyist. So as this week progresses, if you have any questions, like I said, email them to me. The email's across the bottom. You can message me on any of the other platforms and I'll get it. Ask anything and I'll address it and I'll let you know, like, hey, I'm going to address this week, that week, the next week. Because if I start to see pockets of specifics, I'll probably dive into those. So, anyways, it was a great time seeing you guys. I got some friends on here. Some of you guys I never met. So nice to meet you. I'm happy to be working with you guys. I actually tried to target you guys more than my friends who are just. I mean, they know all this stuff. They talk to me all the time. So I got group chats and texts and stuff. But I'll have a few of them on because they have unique experiences of how they got into the hobby, what they think of the hobby, and that's really what I'm trying to cultivate here is people to get into it. I want you to get into it. I want to touch the younger crowd of people and help them get into this hobby. As I see the hobby changing, it's older. So and I'm not young though either. I mean, I'm 36, but I loved this hobby when I first started doing it after the Marine Corps. This was such a fun hobby. And at the time, I didn't know it had a name like this, but man, if it had a name like this and I could have searched and found communities like this at that time, guys, my life probably would have been different. I don't know that I would have ever bought a house. To be completely honest. So my whole reason for doing this is like, let's get to the younger people. Let's get to the people that are really passionate about it, and let's talk in this chat. Let's see what you guys got going on. I also do hunt, like, and this hobby and that hobby really go straight together. Like, if you go on any backcountry hunts, a little bit of overland 12-volt info, it will help you out a lot. Because nothing sucks more than being on a wet backcountry hunt and having wet boots. So there is a way. There's a better way. You can hook up a boot dryer. So just another thought process. But yeah, invite your friends. I'd be more than happy to continue to cultivate this community. And I'll see you guys next week. And have a happy Valentine's Day. Again, do not forget to tell your spouses, significant others, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, happy Valentine's Day. Give them a hug, give them a kiss. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to be with me on the day before Valentine's Day. So have a good night, guys. I'll see you next week.